it's okay that you're feeling this way, but yet we still do have a limit. And that is what's teaching his body to calm down and to feel safe at bedtime. Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, such a treat for you. We are diving into a real life coaching session with one of my clients who's navigating the complexities of how we deal with consequences, how we set limits, how we navigate raising little kiddos. We're going to talk about bedtime, sticker charts, balancing firm yet compassionate limits with our kids that actually work. This episode is packed with practical advice and insights into Connect Method Parenting that is developmentally reflective. And so glad that my amazing client who agreed to let us share this dives in openly with her struggles that I'm sure you can relate, whether you're still in the throes of struggling with bedtime with those little kids or you're managing the behavior of big kids. Copy and paste what we talk about here into your real life example and see the power of allowing our children to have deep connections with us, face togetherness, and feel our regulated nervous system, even in the midst of us having to set pretty strict limits. So we're going to discuss the efficiency of rewards and consequences and how to shift towards a more compassionate and developmentally informed approach. So learning how to create safety and connection while holding firm boundaries and discovering strategies to help your kids feel secure and understood is what we're talking about today. So let's dive in. Hey, welcome everybody. We're going to get started right away with some coaching. Okay, well, tell us what's happening and what your question is. We'll go from there.
Yeah. So I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, both boys. And the 5-year-old is starting school.
Yay.
So he's been doing summer camp.
Okay.
So they have, like a check mark system where if you get 3 checks, you go to the office. I don't know all the particulars. I just know that if you don't get 3 checks, then you get to pick off like the, I don't know what they call it, but the good behavior chart. So we bring home lollipops and suckers and all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
One day he went to the office. So my mom at that point was watching him and just said, we're not going to watch our TV show after school because you got 3 checks at the office. And I kind of just went along with it because I was headed out to work and I didn't really have much time.
Yeah. And she was taking over.
So then when we did have a chance to talk about it, she was like, he's really motivated. And this is so true. He is really motivated by like getting a sticker or by, knowing there's 3 checks or there's a prize. And I really think that as a parent and a partner with the school, you should really try to reinforce some stuff at home. Like if he has a great day, you could give him some stickers. And then when he gets 5, you get to go out to ice cream or whatever to kind of keep that motivation going. And then also reinforce the fact that like you're on board with the school's consequences of like, you're not going to get all these extra privileges when you get home because you didn't follow directions at school. Anyway, it's kind of gray in my mind because I feel like if it happened at school and there's a discipline at school, then it doesn't need to be carried on at home. But I do agree with the fact that in my house, even outside of school time, there has been great progress with getting stickers or, you get a high five if you do something great. Getting something tangible seems to make that motivation and desire to make good choices last longer. But I've been super inconsistent though. Like when we potty trained, we did stickers because he was 18 months old. And so it seemed like it helped to keep him from wetting his bed and keeping his diaper on. We did the same thing and it seemed to help. And so those behaviors have changed. Like now we're potty trained. Now we leave our
Yeah, totally.
And so we've still been struggling with things like, be nice to your brother, having kind hands, staying in your room at relax time, which thankfully that will be so done so soon because he starts school.
Yay. Yay.
So, yeah. Or even like another example would be I lay him down for bedtime at his bedtime and he comes out 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times to tell me one more last thing or give me one more last hug. And I'm like, no, you got to stay in your room. So if I do a sticker, like you stay in your room tonight when I leave, the next morning with a sticker, then he stays in his room. So I'm seeing the immediate results of this, like give a sticker, give this
Yeah.
a raise, do this thing, like, and it's working, but it just feels so, it just seems so superficial and nasty. And I know that is a strong word, but it just feels like, it almost feels like I'm training him to understand, like, you'll get these things that you like if you do something for me, rather
Yeah.
than just like, I'm asking you to do this and this is an expectation, or like this is a rule, this is an expectation, and I just need you to do it. And so I guess I'm kind of feeling stuck when I don't get the behavior that I'm asking for, or I don't get the obedience
Yeah.
from him that I'm asking for. Giving him nothing and doing nothing seems like, not that I'm letting him get away with it, but because there's no consequence or no reward with that, then there's like, he just doesn't care. He's like, no sticker. I mean, like, he'll come out of his room at night and I'll give him one more hug because I want him to know how much I love him. So I don't want to deny him those if he needs that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally.
And I'll tell him how it makes me feel. Like, mommy's not feeling very happy right now because you're not in your room, but I'll see you in the morning. Give me another hug. And constantly reminding him, but it's almost like, because there's no, like which I don't do this, but if I spanked him, he would never come out of his room again because he was so afraid of what mommy's going to do.
That's a really great point you just said. Why would he not come out of his room?
Yeah.
Or why is he doing the things he's doing? Is it because of a sticker? And he's in this transition because he's only 5. So he's like still, in a lot of ways, he's just beginning to know he's a separate person. And you're totally right. The sticker charts and the rewards, they will work temporarily for certain things.
Yeah.
Way better when they're younger, because a 14-year-old is not going to be interested in a sticker.
Right.
They're going to just be like, whatever. You can see how now it has to be a phone, or now it has to be like, it just gets bigger and bigger, and it feels manipulative or controlling. And the fact is, he's 5, still immature in his development and his brain and all of that kind of stuff. So are you clear on what your limits are, what your rules are? Because it's not that you don't have, I don't like to use the word consequence just because so many of us use it synonymously with punishment, because we're trying to not let our kids get away with it or teach them a lesson, or we think it's the thing that's going to train the kids. But really, consequences should be connective and for safety. It's for boundaries. It's for order. There's a purpose, but I like to say set a limit. But just because it's a different word, most of us haven't used. I know you're not. This is their first time around with me. But I think it is interesting. And a lot of people do this as we're transitioning to connective based parenting, is we think we have to release all the limits, and we don't realize or trust that there's other things that are going to help him eventually, as he grows, be motivated. And are we okay with setting a limit without making him responsible for holding or following through with that limit? Because a lot of times consequences will say, now this is your consequence to teach you a lesson. We put all of the responsibility on the kids to fix the behavior instead of on us. What if we asked ourselves the question, what can I do? How can I set him up for success so that I hold this limit that he doesn't come out of his room? Or that's one end of it. And then the other end that you were talking at the beginning was, how do I celebrate when he's done something great without having it to be a sticker chart?
Mm-hmm. I had a good limit. Like, so for example, bedtime, I feel like, is the most concrete example I can come up with, because there is a beginning point. Like, there is a close, like I'm leaving and he's staying. So with that, I felt like I did like kind of go through. I mean, we do go through, we read a book, we do the same routine every single night. We've done the same routine since he was born. So it's not like it's new and I've just started this last month.
Yeah.
Get up, we read, they have a 5-minute or 10-minute warning. They get a book, we read on the couch together. Then each one takes their own turn in the bathroom while the other one takes their own turn to get dressed and, settle their bed and their 500 stuffed animals they have.
Yeah.
And then they switch. And so then it's, the opposite of that.
Right.
Then I go in and lay down my youngest, which is super short and sweet. And that's done in about 5 minutes. And my oldest at that point is in his room reading another book with daddy, or singing songs, or talking about his day, or sitting on his bed, whatever he wants to do. And then I go in his room and I spend another like 15 minutes with him, talking about the best and worst part of his day, singing his songs, doing his prayers, turning out his lights, putting on his calming music, going to his bed, saying our whole spiel that we say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I say it. And even when he asks, I've tried to, like, we're only going to say it once. We're not going to say it 4 times. And I'm really not exaggerating. Sometimes it's like 4 times.
Yeah.
And so then to end it, I've made like a very concrete, like I'm going to turn on your nighttime song. I'm going to show you your green clock.
Fabulous.
It's like the go clock or whatever, and then, or the wake
Yep.
clock. And then I'm going to turn your music on. And when I turn his music on, it's already set. It just turns on. And I say, here's your music. I love you. Good night. Tell me go. And so he tells me go, because that's his way of signaling to me that I'm able to leave the room.
Got it.
Good. And so then, you know, he says go, I say go, I turn around and leave. He started saying bye. So it's like he's slowly adding like new things on.
Love it.
And so a couple weeks ago, I had to just stop and say, you know, we can say go and we can say bye for that.
We can't say all the things.
And I've told him,
Got it.
Be like, I want one more hug. Come back and give me a hug. Like I'm kind of setting the limit of, you know, I've already given you 5 hugs. Mommy still loves you, but it's time for me to go. I can leave, you know, without saying go, or I can leave with you saying go. So even providing, you know, I'm leaving, so you can either say go or not say go.
Yeah.
And so he says go, we say bye, I shut the door. I don't even walk across my house, and there he is, right there.
Yeah. We don't realize this as adults, what a big separation bedtime is when you think of it from the attachment, developmental point of view. It's so hard. But are you feeling like you're able to set the limit? I mean, he comes out, you probably already know he's going to, because he does it probably every night. And are you able to continue to hold the limit? Or are you feeling like this is a tricky point?
I feel like it's tricky in the sense that I think my goal, and maybe this shouldn't be my goal, but I think my goal is to get him to stay in his room when I leave. Like I leave and say go. And so I would like my limit to end at, you know, you stay in your room. It's bedtime. You're in your bed.
Yeah.
I mean, 1, because I get so irritated at the fact that he comes back out. 2, because it really is a safety issue. Like when he's in bed, I used to anyway, leave to go water my flowers outside, do some work in the garage, you know, tend to the things that I need to get done. And there's been several times where he's standing in the garage in his bare feet, his pajamas, like wandering around trying to find mommy, like
going outside.
Yeah. So because I saw that a couple of times, I now just stay inside for a certain amount of time until he has come out. But I almost feel like he's able to push the boundary. Like if that makes
yeah, that's how our brains
like no consequence, or there is no, I don't know, I hate to say it this way, but almost because there is just lots of more love from mommy, then I want that. And so it's almost like it feels like it's enabling him to continue to come out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I mean, like what your thoughts process is, because that's our default is for a lot of us, if I don't have a consequence, I'm letting them get away with it, which leads right into I'm enabling the behavior.
Yeah.
But let's rewind this, because there's a way to have a firm limit on this bedtime, but also have it not be something that you feel like firm, but compassionate, and come from really from a developmental point of view, where you're truly realizing, because a lot of us do not realize how hard bedtime is, because it's no big deal for us.
Yeah.
But from a developmental psychology point, it's an ultimate separation.
Yeah. And I can see his struggle. I mean, he's like, mommy, I miss you.
Yeah.
With me. And like,
it's not necessarily anything you've done. Yeah.
So that's why I'm a little bit more compassionate in the fact of like, I'll go through this bedtime routine 4 times, like, you know, and I don't put a limit, but I'll say again, you know, how much I love you, or I miss you, and so when I leave, I'll even say, I'm excited for the morning. I can't wait until
I was going to ask if you were doing that connection to the next time you're going to see him, which is really good.
Good.
Fabulous.
Going through his day, like when he goes to bed, I'm saying exactly what we're going to do the next day, from like the moment we wake up and get dressed to breakfast.
You nailed it. Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. Now it's just waiting, because we want like an instant result. Yeah. Because consequences and rewards often give us this instant feedback of it's working. But what's really happening is they're either scared to get the consequence. We're just giving them something that trumps in the moment what's happening for them, but it's not necessarily causing him to feel safe. Because what we're really trying to do is he's not feeling safe right now while we're putting him to bed. It's not even necessarily anything that we are doing wrong, quote unquote. It's just for some reason his nervous system is just not feeling safe. So can I feel compassion for him, but still hold that limit?
Feel like
it's just a dance.
Do that compassion, because, you know, when he does come out, I'm trying to say, you know, I know you miss me and I'm here. And
there's two people you have to manage: our own emotions,
Yeah.
the things that are coming up for you. Part of me is really compassionate and knows he misses me. And part of me is just ready to go water the flowers and move on with my night so I can go to bed. Can you hold both of those things so that you can get to the place really where you stay in compassion and we don't end up going to that subconscious, this shouldn't be happening. Gosh, I'm just done. I can be firm with my limit and stay compassionate the whole time. That's the ultimate up level that we can have.
I feel like I'm not being firm in my limit when I'm allowing him to come out of his room.
Yeah. And you don't have to do the whole routine again. If you were on an airplane and there was a lot of turbulence and somebody was getting up, one of the flight attendants would be, for your safety, we need you to sit down. They may or may not do it compassionately. Let's hope they do. But you're important to me, which is what the flight attendant's saying. And no, you can't walk right now. That's the rule right now. So I love you so much. And no, you can't come out of your room right now. You can hold both.
Okay. So I could do that because I have done that in the past.
Mhm.
Like he'll come out of his room and I will simply just say, kind of non-emotionally that
I want you to say it compassionately.
Yeah, compassionately, but just not like I'm
Not
frustrated. Like I
frustrated.
I'm frustrated. And so I've said, I love you. Here's one more hug. You have to go back to your bed. And so then he'll go back and then he'll come back out. And then
Right. And you might do it a few times. You're linking to the morning. You have a beautiful routine. It's predictable. All of the things that you've described were really, really good. What other senses could you tap into to help him feel more connected to you? Is there a perfume you wear that you could spray on his pillow right before you go? Or like you have the same pillowcase, or he sleeps with one of your shirts or your blanket. You each have the same blanket or something. Those are attachment ideas to help him feel safe and attached to you, but you're going to still have to set that firm limit with so much compassion. It's like I have to hold the angst that I might feel that I'm so tired, I'm so done with this. I have to really hold that. And it might be there. Part of me might feel that way, but can I equally just be like, I'm going to be motivated, moved, because emotions move us from this place of compassion. What is the belief you want to have when he comes out? Because the limit is so much cleaner if the belief is clean, if that makes sense. So I can hold this firm and be like, oh, buddy, I know you want to come out with me and I know you don't want to go to bed right now. And then you can put him back in bed. If the belief is so filled with empathy and compassion, that's the fuel behind the limit, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. So basically, the goal is not that he's in his room the first time and stays there, but just the empathy and understanding of one more last, exit or safety.
It's really,
and so then just consistently doing the same thing every night. Eventually, maybe he'll figure out that.
Because what happens is if he comes out and we're irritated, which is so easy to do as parents, especially at the end of the day, we're, oh my gosh, you've come out 5 times. But the nuance of this is so powerful. And I'm only saying it because we miss it a lot of times. We don't realize physiologically what's happening. So as humans, we want to be safe. And when we're safe, we're relaxed and our nervous system isn't triggered. And I'm using safety as far as sometimes if a cop pulls us over, we're not going to feel safe if we've been speeding and we're about to get a ticket. Our body's going to react. Or if our house isn't clean, for some of us, not everybody, but for some of us, our nervous system kicks in and we think this shouldn't be happening and I'm frustrated. And that's a feeling of unsafety. It's genetically passed down for generations and generations, kept us alive. So what's really fascinating is, okay, so he's going to bed. He's feeling perhaps a little unsafe just because he's feeling disconnected. He's in his own room. He's going to bed. He knows you're not going to be close to him. And some kids are more sensitive to this than others. I had some that this was a problem, some that were totally fine with it. Wasn't necessarily because anything magical I was doing. It was just their nervous systems for whatever reason. So he perceives that as quote unquote unsafe and his nervous system reacts and he's wanting to be close to you because that makes him feel safe. So when he comes out and we are triggered, which is fine, it's normal. Let's accept and validate all of this process. This is not an incriminating thing. This is just awareness. And he comes out and he's already in fight or flight. And when we get triggered, now we're in fight or flight. And now what's happening is we're triggering each other. Mm-hmm. We want him to be calm, but we oftentimes will be frustrated and be like, calm down, go to bed. And we're coming from an activated place, but we want him to learn to somehow, this is like crazy that we think this, but it's just human nature. All of us do it. And we're kids, stop fighting or go to bed or whatever it is. But we're activated and we want them to calm their nervous system down while we're activated. That is so hard to do. Have you ever been in a room with another adult that's irritated or frustrated? How hard is it for us to not match their energy?
Right. Yeah. Very hard.
Very hard. Almost impossible. So you need to be the resonance. They've done this study with these tuning forks and they'll hit them different frequencies. Eventually they resonate together.
So what I want you to be thinking of is he's coming out activated, scared, nervous. Your brain is, oh my gosh, I don't get it. But for him, it's a big deal. And you want to hold the compassion so strong that you're setting the limit, you're putting him back, and you're holding that frequency and you're resonating this compassion. And that's communicating to him, you're safe. I got you taken care of. It's okay that you're feeling this way, but yet we still do have a limit. And that is what's teaching his body to calm down and to feel safe at bedtime. But we can only really feel that way when we truly are calm and we truly believe this is not a problem. I'm teaching him to be safe. I was just restudying this whole theory called polyvagal theory. I love it. I was just going back and reading it and studying it. And one of the things that it says is safety is the treatment. So we think consequences are the treatment, or teaching them a lesson or talking to them so they know the rule. It can't come out 20 times. But safety is the treatment. Can I hold the compassion in my body so his nervous system feels safe? Eventually that tone is going to resonate and he's going to be able to settle into bedtime.
Okay. So basically, the more I'm compassionate and my tone is compassionate and I'm empathetic with him and feeling safety, then eventually he'll just realize he can actually calm
he's going to feel safe.
down. He'll figure out he's safe and can stay.
He's safe. Yeah. And he might be more sensitive and for a while struggle with this separation at bedtime. Who knows why? It just could be how he's built. So it's just having so much compassion. I'm going to let this take as long as he needs, because long term, this isn't about bedtime.
That makes sense.
Long term, this is about his nervous system
being able to feel safe and develop emotional resilience.
Our kids' brains aren't really developed till 25 to 30 for guys. We're built physiologically to co-regulate. We regulate around other people. Regulate means our nervous system calms down. It goes back to feeling safe. We do that with other people. We're built to do that best with other people. So if you're like, hey, this is my job to help him feel his emotions, to learn how to feel safe, maybe that will help.
That does totally help me feel, because now I feel like the goal is not for him to stay in his room the first time, but the goal is for me to be firm in what the limit is, but then also help him feel safe. And
so compassionate as you.
It's not as irritating, like to think that tonight he'll come out of his room or the next 3 years he'll come out of his room, because really he's just trying to safety. Okay, so, and I guess that's kind of why my question was kind of twofold when I, did my little entry in the email, because I keep getting questions from family members, like, and even in my mind, I struggle, like, what are you doing to get him to stay in his room? What are you doing to pick up his toys? What are you to do when he's not kind to his brother? What are you doing, like, when he, the big thing now is like, what are you doing when he doesn't get checks at school, or when he does get checks at school? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, my answer is I'm just connecting with him and I'm just loving him. And like, nobody really likes that answer.
In the context of behavior modification,
yes.
It feels like you're not doing anything to fix his behavior.
In my mind, like, I still struggle, like, oh, I'm not doing anything, like specifically bedtime, I can be like, oh, I'm helping him feel safe. But then I can already hear, like, but he's not staying in his room. He's not doing what you're asking.
Okay. Yes.
He's not following directions, or like, pick up his toys. He may need my assistance, even at the age of almost 6 years old, for mommy to get down on the floor and help him pick up and be an active part of that. Okay, fine. Again, I'm not like thrilled about this, but if that's what he needs. Then I can also, still see or hear family members being like,
that's not enough.
We asked him to do it and he should be, able to do this, and he's not obeying. And so when he goes to school, there's expectations that you don't have for him. And so,
this is so good. I'm so glad you're asking these, because this is the questions we have.
What am I doing? Honestly, I feel like I'm doing nothing. I'm literally like, part of me feels like I'm holding his hand and walking him through it. Like, I don't know. I mean, what are you going to do when he gets 3 check marks at home? In my opinion, at school, in my opinion, he was sent to the office and they dealt with it the way that they wanted to deal with it. And I can't change. I mean, I can't change their system, but when he gets home, what I want him to know is like, hey, I found out you got 3 check marks. It sounds like you had a really rough day. Do you want to talk about it? And like connect with him that way. And then honestly, I just want to move on. Like, honestly, I just want to move on. Like, I don't really want to take away the TV, because now I feel like that happened at school and you're just ready to be home.
Right. Yeah.
So when he has a great day, I honestly don't really want to keep track of stickers and did you get 5 and we can go out for ice cream. Like, I just want to take him out to ice cream because it's Saturday morning and I feel like eating ice cream. But again, like, it's still my mom or husband, or even like my own mental thinking, I'm not doing anything to get him to clean up his,
well, there's 2 thought patterns, and most of us have been raised to think, and to believe that the way you train someone is external, their consequence or the reward. Like that's what's going to motivate people. If that worked, prisons would work. We would always be not speeding. I was just thinking the other day, a lot of people, if a cop is nearby, they will stick to the speed limit. And most people, if there's not a cop there, there's a better chance that they're going to break that speed limit. So if we truly were motivated by consequences, I mean, to a degree we are, but only when they're looming in front of us.
Right.
When you take the threat of getting pulled over by the police officer away, all of a sudden up 5 miles, 10 miles. It's so easy to just
do something short term for an external reason.
Yes. Could you get him to pick up his toys if you were constantly there? You were that police officer managing him and hovering. If you do the toys, we'll go to ice cream. If you don't pick up the toys, then you get your TV taken away or whatever. Yes, but it doesn't
get to the root of what's going on.
We're putting all the responsibility on them to fix their behavior instead of what am I doing to help?
Like we're asking ourselves, what does my child need right now? He seems to be really struggling.
Like you might decide, I don't actually want to pick up the toys on the floor with him every day. That's not okay with me. So then you're playing with other ways of how do I manage the toys? Do I have less toys? You set that limit of whatever you want it to be, but it's fueled by compassion and really a belief in him. So this idea that I'm not doing anything or I'm not teaching him, it's really reframing it. I'm training him to do these things for the right reason. And when he doesn't right now, I'm realizing sometimes I don't want to do things for the right reason either. Sometimes I'm not following through on what I know is best or what I've been asked to do. Coming down hard on somebody, you got 3 checks and let's talk about that. I don't like it when someone comes and just drills in on my struggles or my failures. It doesn't really
bring out the best in me.
I don't feel great about myself. I might not go get any more checks. Where is it coming from?
Yeah. And the next day he went and did not get any checks and he came home and he was so proud of himself.
Yeah.
And I just like verbally praised him and
want to celebrate. Yeah.
Because I do think it's motivating. And so I think that's where my struggle is, because I know that is motivating for him and he does feel like he has something to work for.
Yes.
Here's in the long run, it's not really like,
it's not that. Yeah.
He's not going to care.
Right. And I will say they've done studies on, this is in the job place, because they were like trying to see if employees performed better if they had an incentive. So what they found is if the employees had a bonus, if they hit a certain goal or something, they would do better the first time, but it worked less and less the more they did it. But if they still gave them, say they got the same bonus, but they didn't tell them ahead of time, the boss was just like, thank you so much for hitting that goal. That was amazing. Here's a bonus. That was a totally different result because the person wasn't doing it for the money. They did still get the bonus, but they didn't do it for the money and they continued to perform. So the reason I bring this up is if he comes home and he did a fabulous job and you decide you want to go to ice cream or something, first of all, make it about his qualities, right? Not about the stars, the energizing greatness. We talk about that, the difference between the behavior, rewarding the behavior versus rewarding the goodness inside. But you could do it spontaneously and be like, I think we should celebrate. That was amazing. But he's not doing it for the ice cream or whatever he ends up doing. We do want to celebrate people's goodness. We don't want to be flat about everything. And it's not that we don't have conversations about maybe what he's struggling with. Like you're saying, if he does come home, the only thing I would tweak with what you said is instead of saying that doesn't make me happy or I'm frustrated, like I would just keep all of that aside and just be like, oh, it sounds like you really struggled today. Sounds like today was really hard. Help him know that's normal. Because what we don't want to do is, and we do this sometimes, and I'm guilty as charged sometimes. So I'm always trying to fix my brain too and just catch it because this is how society is. But just how do we affirm and validate him as a person? He'll just feel so safe with you. He'll be, Mama, I made this terrible choice or I lied. You want him to come to you and say, yeah, I screwed up.
Yeah, and
I feel safe.
He's like a little bit hesitant to come because I've done consequences or things that would be like normal society things. And so like, ask him if he's done something, he'll be like, no, I didn't do that. And then I'll find out a day later that yes, he did, but he just didn't want to tell me. And so that makes sense, because that's not really what I want. And so really praising him, it's not like he gets a great day and we go out for ice cream every day. It's not an expectation, but it's just like random.
Well, he's not doing it. You're not, if you're good today at school, when you drop him off, we'll go get ice cream. You're always believing in his goodness because he has that innate goodness in him. And if he has a bad day and he gets 3 checks, it's nothing about him. You just want to understand, wow, he must have had a hard time or what was going on, or maybe he didn't get enough sleep, or maybe the morning was rough, or maybe a friend said something, or maybe he doesn't even know. But you're always assuming the assumption is this behavior isn't him. Something happened.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that helps. And so sometimes I'll do like, I've started saying things like in our plan and like kind of like laying out what our plan is for the day. So we're going to clean up the living room, then we're going to watch TV, and then we're going to have dinner. And so sometimes I'll say, and I don't know if this is I know it's not like right or correct, kind of just how I feel about it, but I don't know if this is like teetering on the line of consequences, but sometimes I'll just say, we got to clean up the living room before we can do our next thing on our plan. So if the living room, if it takes him 2 hours to clean the living room and it's dinner time, the movie didn't happen.
Yeah. And I would say like sometimes, just as an example to give you a framework, there was a period of time where one of my kiddos, she was just struggling. I couldn't quite put my finger. I was like looking at the thing. I was just assessing. And finally, when the time was right, we had a conversation. And what ended up happening, and she was part of this decision. She was older, so it was a phone thing. A lot of phone things were no longer part of what she was
have to navigate, because she decided to not have her phone for a while, but
it came from a place of service. I think this is going to serve you better. If you can approach it from that place, yeah, you might have to take this thing away, or you might have to change plans because of stuff that's happening with him or how he's acting that day, but it's not because he's in trouble. It's just, this is going to be the best thing. So that changes the motion. It's not, we can't watch TV now, or you can't go to a friend's house, or we can't play that thing, or we can't, whatever, go to that tree. It's just, I think what would be the best thing for us today is to do this other thing instead, or to not do that thing. So it's really serving him, because if his nervous system is activated and he's not able to listen, and he's not following directions, and he's just off the wall or whatever, you do want to reevaluate and say, maybe I do want to change plans, or what have we been doing that might have been contributing? It used to work. Now we really can't do it like we used to. Let's experiment with taking that away and seeing if that will help him.
Okay.
But not because he's in trouble. Sometimes at bedtime, I set that limit.
And if he doesn't listen,
I have a protocol of what I do. I want to instill in your brain is you have limits. And I would actually write down your limits and why you have them, because this will help you be more compassionate. What do you want to do if he has 3 stars? Or what do you want to do if he has 3 checks? What do you want to believe about it? And what do you want to do about it? Keep it really clean. And when you're doing it outside of the moment, you're going to be able to stay so much more connected and compassionate. You're going to be able to look at it from a place of, okay, if he has 3 checks, he's probably struggling.
Yeah. And that might be take away the TV, but not necessarily because he had 3 checks, but it just might be to spend time together.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not a quote unquote consequence to teach him a lesson. It's because that serves him best. It's a boundary. It's creating safety really in his brain and his body.
It would just be, it wouldn't be saying you're going to lose TV today because you got 3 checks. It would just be, we're just not going to do the TV today. I think we're going to do something else.
Yeah. I think there's something else that would be better for us to do today.
That makes sense.
You're really being intentional. It requires more of you than a quote unquote traditional consequence, because you're going to probably do something more time intensive with him. You're like, maybe we're going to play Play-Doh, or maybe we're going to go to the park, or do something that was super connective, because that will create safety. And if he was having trouble at school, there was something off with his nervous system. Something was going on. You just want him to feel grounded again with you.
That makes sense. And if I'm connecting with him throughout the week anyway, like Saturday or Sunday or in the mornings or whenever, then it wouldn't be like, let me get 3 checks so we can do something totally different with mommy. And this is going to be fun. Like that wouldn't, because the connections build in throughout the week.
Right. If at all possible, you don't want to link connections or special time with behavior.
Right.
What's kind of crazy is that puts more fuel on the fire. So if his behavior is off, that we know from a developmental point of view, his nervous system is activated. So he's been fight or flight. What he needs to actually do to calm down is for us to come in and co-regulate with him and help him create safety. Well, when we give a consequence and we just reiterate something's wrong with you, all we're doing is activating the nervous system even more. So the likelihood of him calming down, he might shut something off if we offer ice cream or something. He might be like, okay, but like underneath, we're not getting to the core.
Okay, that makes sense. That's helpful, because that makes it seem a little bit more clear. Like I am doing something. I just, for the longest time, felt like I was doing nothing.
Yeah, you're doing a lot. In fact, this is so much work. Always celebrating. We're always going to celebrate when he does well.
Yeah.
And when he struggles and he comes home with checks,
I'm going to remember something's not working for him and try to help him succeed, whatever that might look like.
I have that in mind. For sure, I'm aware of that. And I'm trying to think of the best thing that I can do to help him have better behavior at school, which is 100% true.
Playing Play-Doh and no TV, or TV even still, because it's just, I need a day for him to.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That feels better, because it feels like I'm doing something and not like get away with it.
You're not letting him get away with it. Yeah. In fact, you're doing the opposite of letting him get away with it, to be honest, because you're really being present and you're helping him. When the time is right, if it needs to happen, you'll have those conversations with him. But at 5, the logic and reason can't really hold on to that like we think they can.
Yeah. Right? And the next day he did not get checks, because I think he wanted to, it did impact him. He wanted TV the next day. But then after a month, that's going to get really old. Like he's not going to care about the TV anymore.
Or he'll want an hour or 2 hours, or he'll have to grow. It's impossible to keep up.
Yeah. Awesome.
So what do you want? I really want to hammer in 2 things before we get off. I feel like you're ready. But what is your belief about bedtime when he comes out 20 times? I want you to have a really strong belief about that. And you don't have to decide right now, but if you can't come up with something right now, that's your homework. And then that's probably the biggest one, but any other setting limits, like when you have to set a limit, what's your thought about like setting the limit is the teaching the lesson?
So my belief about bedtime is he still needs me. Like right now, he still needs me, and that's okay.
Okay.
Like he still.
How does that feel? When he comes out 20 times, I'm on my 20th time he's coming out. Is that belief going to be strong enough?
I hope so.
Okay. Practice it. If it feels like it's not, then just play around with it.
Okay.
And be okay that you're going to feel the negative emotions probably for a while that he comes out. You're learning to be capable of holding it. Think of it like as someone who's lifting weights. Like you start with 5, then you go to 10, and then they can do 20. You're trying to get to the place where you can hold whatever emotions come up and then have the compassion there too, and not have the frustration or whatever that negative emotion is be the driver anymore. I am capable of holding it, but I don't need to respond to it.
Like 1 or 2 times I can hold it, but 20 times I think I'd get frustrated because I'm
like, and that's okay. You're just getting better and better. You're just like, okay, I'm up to 5 times or 20 times.
Keeping in my mind that he just needs me, still needs that connection. He's having a hard time separating and seeing that compassionately. I think that will get me to the 20th time, because then I'll just continue to remind myself, 18, 19, 20 times that he needs me.
I don't think he's always going to have to come out 20 times. I'm just saying, but you want to be prepared for worst case scenario. And then you're going to hold that limit. I love you and no. I love you and no. And if you can just say that, not with I call it a stretchy smile. We're trying to really be compassionate, but we're trying to get to the place where it's genuine. And that will it's just like when we go to the gym or we want to lose 10 pounds, like it's not going to happen overnight. You're taking your brain to the gym.
Too, with me, like saying I love you and no, because it's me setting that limit. And I think I personally, maybe if I examine that a little further, have a hard time with that, because it's almost like I'm saying, I love you, but not right now. Like, I love you, but, and that's okay.
Right.
And that is okay, because it is okay. And it's okay to send him back to his room.
And maybe you walk him back or like decide what will feel best to you. It might be like, I love you and I'll see you in the morning, because then we're putting that connection on the morning. So nothing wrong that he's coming out, nothing wrong that you might feel a little bit of agitation or frustration. Remember, the treatment or the solution is safety.
Yeah.
And it starts with you feeling safe in your body. So you want to start there, because if you can go 20 times and feel safe, and by safe, I mean, you're not getting triggered anymore. You're feeling totally calm and this is not a problem. Then the better you get at feeling safe, it's going to resonate. Exactly what that will look like behaviorally is still to be told, because he's not a little robot. There's stuff going on, and who knows why he's so sensitive around bedtime.
Yeah.
And it might go away like this if it's just literally that your safety might let him go into it. But if it's deeper or if there's other things going on, it might take longer.
Yeah. And I could see that, just the safety of that and the consistency of that. So then the setting limits being the teaching, I feel like my thoughts and beliefs with that is that it's not necessarily the consequence. Like, I'm not tying my decision to his behavior, but I'm just tying my decision to what I feel like is best for him. Sometimes I think it's easy to see it as you did this and so you get this, but really it's this happened and so I'm setting the limit and making this decision.
Right.
That's just a mindset shift of like, or because then it also gives openness and availability that if he does something and I do nothing, like he could get 3 checks at school or be mean to his brother, and I just remind him and we move on. Like, there doesn't have to be a smack down. If
you just go back to safeties, if he hits his brother, there might be things you might separate them or whatever. But if the thought process that we can get our brains to go to is there's something going on inside this little guy, I don't know. And you might not figure it out. A lot of us want to figure it out. He probably doesn't. If you ask him, he won't have a clue, other than he'll tell you something, but it may not be the real thing, or he may not tell you anything. But if it's just, okay, how do I create safety? How do I create safety? And so you could say to him, and I remember this is when we say 5 words or less. So you set the limit as short as possible, because otherwise we start going into lecture mode. So it's just, we can't hit our brother. That's your limit. Can't hit our brother. He knows that already. I'm sure you've told him 100 times. Yeah. Can't hit your brother. I need you to stay. If you can tell, like, he cannot control his body today, and as soon as I turn my back, he's going to hit his brother again or do something else off track, then maybe he gets to stay with you. Yeah. I need you to come with me. Or I need you to, it could even be like, maybe you can't have him come with you. You could say, hey, I need you to sit on this chair. I'm going to bring you some Play-Doh or a book. Let's just take some time. But it's not like, I need you to sit on this chair because you're hitting your brother. It's just like, I can tell you're really, frustrated right now. Totally normal. We all get frustrated. So you see, you're still setting a very firm limit. It's still no hitting. They're not like, well, they'll figure it out. I'm setting a very firm limit. And then I'm thinking exactly what you're saying. What would set them up for success? What does he need right now? Because he's struggling. We know when we're in a frustrated mode, when I get frustrated, if someone just comes and starts telling me I'm wrong and you need to slow down and stop being frustrated, I would like to, because I hate the way it feels when I'm frustrated, but it might take me a second.
Right.
And it definitely re-triggers me if someone comes and starts getting mad at me about it.
That makes sense. Yeah. And I think I need to like shift in my mind that it's not a consequence, but it's just me setting the limit and being firm and compassionate. Because when I hear family members go, oh, you need to set a consequence, technically, I guess in their mind, I'm setting the, consequence, but
yeah, and you can,
like I'm setting the limit, I'm setting what needs to be done.
Yeah. And you can use the word consequence. The only reason, like I said at the beginning when we started talking, is just because so many of us link consequence to teaching them a lesson, punitive measures. Honestly, that is really what's happening. Is you're saying they're hitting. Okay, what's the result of that? What's the limit? What's the consequence? This is not going to teach him the lesson. This is just going to create safety and structure. The consequences, they can't be together anymore or whatever. Or he needs to play Play-Doh because I've got to go finish dinner, or I've got to go jump on a work call. So how can I help him? Because he's not capable of it himself.
And I like that, because sometimes I look at like separating him from his brother is going to be the thing that fixes his behavior. And really it's not the thing that fixes his behavior. It's just the thing that gets him back to center.
I mean, in some ways it does, quote unquote, fix it, because you're giving him the ability to have some space to hopefully calm down, and you're not re-triggering him by saying, why did you do this? Stop hitting your brother. You know better. We've talked about this 20 times. Like that's not helpful. So it is, in essence, way better at fixing, if we want to use those words, the behavior, but only because we're helping him get back to feeling calm and regulated. And when he's in that state, he's not going to have typically they're not hitting their brother.
Right. Yeah. It just feels cleaner. It feels more.
It's so much cleaner because you're going to the root.
Empathetic.
Yeah.
Useful. Instead of for good and here's a spanking for bad. Like it just doesn't. Yeah.
Right. When you think about that though, if it helps to still frame it that way, you're like, oh, I am helping him fix the behavior because I'm validating. And when he feels safe, really, I love the word safety, because it's when he feels safe and his nervous system is back to normal, he's going to behave better because he's going to feel better. He's not going to be so explosive.
Yeah. Reframing it does make it seem better for everyone. Like the way I feel, the way he's going to feel from what I'm doing.
Right. Well, the emotion it's coming from will be so different.
Yeah.
So now it's not frustration. This is serving you. So you're not, you can't be in this room when you're hitting. It's like, hey, I get you're struggling and I'm here for you. It's so much compassion. You're thinking he can't control his body right now. What would be the best thing for him?
I love it.
I think everybody can resonate exactly what you're talking about. I hope everybody takes this and applies it, because this reframing is so powerful on so many levels. So your homework is keep dialing in your thought about bedtime. And I want you to make a list of all your rules or boundaries. And then what are you going to do if the kids don't abide by the rules? What is your thought about it? In fact, in the workbook, there's a whole section on connective discipline that might be really good to guide you through it, just to clean it up. Here's my rules. Why do I have those rules? What are my thoughts about those rules? And what am I going to do if they don't listen or don't obey the rules? It's going to help your brain specifically, but probably everybody could benefit from them. I do this regularly, but it gets it really clean and it helps me see how intentional I'm being. It's in the Cultivate book, which you can do. I can link it here. It's under connective discipline.
I think I always get stuck on what will I do if they don't listen and obey?
Yes, because I don't have my tools. Andy's telling me to throw them all out. And I'm like, no, we're just using them differently for a different purpose with the lens of developmental psychology. So they actually are helping, not hurting. We don't want to hurt the kids. And that's what we accidentally do when we get all authoritative and controlling. But go through all of that. So that's your second assignment. And if anybody on the call, you're struggling with the same thing, go through what are my limits? Why do I have them? Because sometimes even just that process, I don't actually know why I have that. That's a really weird rule, or that's very important to me. You want to get really clean thoughts and what you're going to do as a result. And you could brainstorm a couple, because it's not always going to be the same thing, but even just hypothesize. If he starts hitting his brother, what we did today, these are some ideas of what I could do to hold that firm limit. That will be really helpful.
That's awesome.
For your brain to just plan ahead. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to move you back. That was super helpful and it was right on point. So that was perfect. So thank you for bringing all those up.
You're welcome.
And thanks everybody for coming today. If you have any questions or need anything else, you know how to get a hold of me. Okay. We'll talk to you guys next week. We'll see you. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening, you all. If you are ready to learn more about Connect Method Parenting, if you've been listening to the podcast and you think, ooh, I'd love to be able to implement this in my life and with my parenting more, then check out Pivot. It's my 8-week program where we deep dive into learning and implementing Connect Method Parenting so that you can take this information and transform your parenting journey. Head over to connectmethodparenting.com to find out when the next group starts.